Welcome to day 11 of the Natural Beauty Summit Detox Your Beauty Regimen series. I'm Salome Sallehy, founder and president at Sugar Wax, a clean beauty company. And today marks the midway point in this series. Now, before I introduce my guest, I want to let you know that we have been receiving some really great feedback from you guys, and we want more. If you can share your thoughts, learnings, or really anything that you think will help us do a better job, please let us know. You can write a note, an email to alex@naturalbeautysummit.org, or you can send me a message or video at hello@sugarwax.com. Natural Beauty Summit is a not-for-profit organization created to help people like you have a better understanding of health and beauty. So if there's something that we've missed along the way, please let us know. If there's something that you want more of, we want to hear it. We want to hear from you. Today's guest has a very special place in my heart. Not only is she a wonderful human being, but she's also been a really great supporter of mine. And I'm so proud to introduce Clarissa Shetler to you today. 4 years ago, Clarissa, with a pharmaceutical background, she ventured into the clean beauty product space and has been continuously committed to developing clean standards and clean products. In today's discussion, Clarissa will be sharing some clean beauty hacks as well as some really great resources to keep it clean. So stay tuned for the lovely Clarissa Shetler, CEO and founder at C to Clean Beauty. Hi everyone, I am here with Clarissa Shetler. She is the founder of C to Clean Beauty. We're going to hear more about her line and how she develops products, but her line has a lot of really great clean ingredients in there. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited to have her here, because she's going to let us in on some of those major beauty secrets. So, hi, Clarissa.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for hanging out with us. Now, I want to get right into it because one of the things that you have talked a lot about, and including various audiences, including to groups at Harvard, etc., has been about how personal care product development has changed over the course of the last 50 or even 100 years. Can you I think that's a good baseline. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. Because, I think that everybody goes out and they go shopping and they see all these amazing products. But what they don't know is that a lot of our beauty products haven't been reformulated since probably the 1950s, way back when Mary Kay and Avon were getting established, and there was this major beauty boom. And so all these different companies, they got onto the beauty wagon because they wanted to, create products that were actually going to enhance a women's beauty regimen. And so they started to put together creams and lotions and oils and makeups. But in the meantime, what happened is that they didn't necessarily take a really good look at the ingredients that they were using. And so now we're starting to find out that some of these ingredients that were developed so long ago that are still in the formulations, they are actually causing different types of short and long-term effects on our body, our health, and the planet. And I think one of the issues is that some of these large companies, they create massive amounts of products, 100,000 per day, and they're not able to necessarily stop the factory and say, all right, guess what? we got to change this formulation and we got to scrub it and we got to change it. So it's hard for those large companies to actually put the brakes on and actually make a major modification to switch to more clean ingredients.
Yeah, and you know, both you and I have been side by side with our chemists formulating, and like maybe everyone doesn't necessarily know that it's not as simple as just swapping out one ingredient, that like take out the bad and put in the good, because we have to go through months of testing, even with like a small change of one tiny less than 1% ingredient, you still have to go through the vigorous testing. So I love the way you put that, because it's so visual. You've got like these huge factories mass producing goods, and their objective is really to keep it all the same, to have that consistency, be able to consistently deliver the same thing. So now we're talking about like derailing their mandate and then having a several month stall just to prove and verify that the substitution is going to work and it's going to be safe.
Right, exactly.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about greenwashing, because it's a term that we hear a lot. And I think as consumers are becoming more and more aware of what they're putting on their skin, what they're putting in their bodies, and just general health awareness, we're hearing that term a lot more. Now, can you talk a little bit about what that means to the consumer and share some examples?
I love that you brought up greenwashing, because I feel that greenwashing is something that people hear about, but they don't know exactly what it's about and what they can do about it. But basically, the FDA, they're a governing governing agency that basically regulates what we call different pharmaceuticals and some OTCs. However, the FDA does not regulate a lot of the beauty and personal care products that we find in stores all today. And so what happens is that any company, they can put whatever they want on the label, and they could make empty promises, and no one's going to ever slap them on the hand. So basically, you'll see words like, natural, botanical, plant-based. There's just tons of different words that they can use to make their products sound green and clean. But then in reality, nobody's checking or double checking or even calling them out on if those products are really true green and clean. However, there is a company, a nonprofit that's been around for about 25 years. In fact, there's not only, we use EWG, but there's also Think Dirty, there's also Skin Safe. EWG is probably the biggest nonprofit in the United States. And what they do is they set up a criteria for clean and healthy standards. And they actually look at a product's profile of ingredients, and then they assign it a toxicity rating. So you can actually really understand, is your product truly clean and green? Or is it just, have a bunch of great marketing terms that make it sound like it's truly green and clean? So,
and they have an app, right? You mentioned that they have an app.
Yeah, they have an app.
Anyone
It's a free app. It's called Skin Deep. It's a nonprofit, so they really take an unbiased, agnostic viewpoint. They're not going to favor anybody. And they've set, I would say, the gold standards for green personal care. And so we use them as a way to, understand and look at the different percentages of different types of ingredients. But they have a verification program where they actually verify products. But if you want to go and you just want to check out, let's say, this new foundation you got or a new skin wash, you can go to the website and you can type in different ingredients, or you can go and copy ingredients and drop them in there, and they will be able to give you a manual rating.
And they also have like they have an archive of products as well. So you could search by product or ingredient, right?
Right, and there's not all products that are listed in there. It's a lot of products that that over popularity and for sales and things like that.
Okay.
And EWG, actually, they've been trying to advocate to have sections in stores. Like if you go into Target, there would be an EWG section. Like we sell at Macy's, and they would have an EWG section, you know. But it's a little bit slow moving, just because it has to be triggered by the consumers. That's something they want to see.
Right. Now, I just want to go back to the term of greenwashing for a second, because you talked about, what's on the label and ingredients. And I think it's important to note that sometimes, labels are designed in a certain way with a leaf or whatever that gives the consumer the impression that, it's really like natural or non-toxic at least. But it's really important to look at the actual ingredients. So it's not.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, we really stress you want to look at the back of your bottles and look at the products that are in it. Not only for just the safety of the product, but you might have allergic reactions. Maybe you're allergic to some kind of like aloe plant or something. But it's just good to know what you're putting on your body as well as in your body.
For sure. So can you just give us a little bit of an overview, or like, what are some of the main toxic ingredients, and what should people be looking out for? Is there a science to reading a label when you're reading all these like scientific terms that you may not necessarily understand?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm a nerd chemist and nerd scientist, and even I have a hard time. It's like, some of them, they're just really long chemical, and a lot of that means that they're synthetic. And when you look at an ingredient, sometimes there's two different types of ingredient. There's what we call the basic general ingredient, and then there's what we call an inky name, which is like a nomenclature that we use for a more scientific name. So there might be both of those names on the label. But honestly, the best way is to get the EWG app and then scan the products. Like you can have it on your phone and then walk into stores and scan the barcode, and hopefully that will come up, or you can look at it and type things in. But though that's the best and the fastest way to really evaluate the toxicity of a product.
For sure. And I think you had mentioned in our previous conversation, like you almost, if you don't have a ton of time to read every single ingredient and look up every single ingredient, normally like the first 5 ingredients will raise some flag, or the last like 3 ingredients, because usually like the most toxic ingredients are either some sort of preservative, which is in small amounts and they're at the end,
Right.
or it's like something major like a paraben or phthalate or whatever.
Right. And I would encourage, consumers to go out and actually reach out to the brands, reach out and ask if you're using something and you have a question about an ingredient, you contact them, ring their doorbell, knock on their door and ask them, because they should respond back, because these are important things. You want to know what you're getting in your product.
Especially now with as we are approaching more, like as consumers are wanting more like natural products, and there's like a huge surge of independent brands that are really like driven by some sort of like a mandate, like you or like me, where we are more accessible because we're driven to deliver like really clean products, and we want the consumers to either educate themselves or ask us all the questions.
Right, exactly.
So now let's shift gears for a second. I want to talk about summer, because well, here in California it's amongst us. um, But in other parts, everywhere's warming up right now, and sun exposure is something everyone's thinking about. Now, there's been a lot of controversy around sunscreen ingredients and whether they're healthy or not. There's been a lot of alternative ingredients, and this is definitely in your wheelhouse. So can you give us maybe a little bit of a guide around sun exposure time and products? Like, what are you looking for in sunscreen products to make them safe? And I'm just gonna like plug in one little thing that I heard recently, which was there's some study that shows that people who applied sunscreen more than once increase their risk of cancer.
Well, it depends on the type of sunscreen that you're using. So let's talk first about sunscreen and the ingredients. So in a sunscreen, there's basically two different types of ingredient, or two types of sunscreen categories that I like to think of. One is going to be more of a natural mineral, what they call a barrier type of sunscreen, and the other one is more of a synthetic sunscreen. It kind of acts as a barrier, but as we're starting to discover, a lot of the synthetics sunscreens are actually a small molecule, and they're actually penetrating through the skin and getting into the blood-brain barrier. And so the FDA was saying, oh yeah, there's a possibility that we would actually go back and start testing the efficacy and the safety of some of these sunscreens, and it's primarily the synthetic ones like oxybenzone. And so the state of Hawaii, they were the first state in the United States to actually ban two different types of sunscreens. So you cannot sell those sunscreens in anywhere on the islands. They banned it. You can't. It's hard to really like control it coming in. But what they were finding is that some of these synthetic sunscreens were actually killing the reefs and all of the wildlife, because everyone's dousing themselves with sunscreen and they're jumping into the water, and then that was easing into the aquatic, natural environments, and it was killing a lot of the polyps, the algae, and a lot of the food sources for the fish. So one of the things is that the synthetic sunscreens that we have on the market today, they are harming not only ourselves, but they're also harming our environment. And in terms of the reason why they're causing cancer is because the molecular size is basically getting into our system, and they're actually affecting at the organ level. So that's why some of these sunscreens are actually very harmful. In terms of sunscreen, everyone's looking at this SPF factor, and SPF basically is a sun protection factor. So that basically tells you how long you can be in the sun. So when you're looking at sunscreens, the minimum you want to get is 15. You're going to get probably like at least 90% coverage. And that primarily is going to be UVB. UVA is like kind of thrown in there, but it's a harder UV to actually protect against. And UVB is the one you want to really protect your skin from getting skin cancer.
Right.
But you want to look for 15, and the higher you go up doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a ton more coverage, because you could have an SPF 30 that's giving you 97%, and then let's say you go to a 50%, and that's going to give you maybe 1% more. So it helps with the higher number, helps with the wearability. It's not going to give you that great of coverage, but one of the things you want to do is reapply every depending on the activities, reapply and reapply. The best sunscreen is a mineral-based sunscreen, and everyone's all, ew, gross, I'm going to have kabuki face or a clown face, but there's a lot of great sunscreens. We're actually launching one, a tinted one, but the mineral sunscreen is a zinc oxide. And basically what it does is it stays on top of your skin. It's like wearing an extra hat or clothes or piece of clothing. So it's a barrier sunscreen that really just protects your skin and helps the UV rays bounce off of it. So that's the safest, especially for young children or people who have skin cancer or things like that.
Yeah, and you know, as a mom of two little ones, like I became very wary of what's in their sunscreen. And I started doing some research. I mean, this is years ago. And even some of the brands that claim to be like clean brands were producing sunscreens that like you really shouldn't be putting on your children.
Yeah,
And then
you really want to use zinc oxide. That's the best one.
And I love, I mean, there is some truth. So if you are putting on a mineral, you are going to have that like reflective quality because that's what it's doing. It's creating a reflective barrier so that the light and the UV doesn't penetrate. So I love that you're doing a tinted one because then at least I could pick the color I want to be.
It can be like a mini foundation while you're like out there doing your activities, you know? That's what we're thinking. And
Oh,
you put it
yeah.
on a brush, you know, so.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I want to switch gears here for a quick second. Because, you know, obviously you develop a lot of products and sunscreen just being one of them. If someone is, I think, if someone's new to this idea of detoxing their beauty regimen, it can be overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
Especially, yeah, you've got like, you know, K Beauty is saying you need like 10 steps and ain't nobody got time for that. So I guess what I would love to hear from you is what is a like good regimen that can help people like kind of take the toxic stuff out but not have to have an overwhelming number of steps just to look healthy.
I think that, you know, the personal care, we don't think about it, but, you know, we wash and condition our hair, we brush our teeth, people, you know, wear deodorant, you know, all of those things are actually part of your personal care. They say that a female puts on over 170 ingredients every day just from the different personal care products that we use. So detoxing, you know, is hard because you have all these different products that you've accumulated throughout your life, and they become, you know, this regimen that you're familiar with, and you use them all this time. And you have the same toothpaste, so what I say is that when you want to detox, you just take one product at a time and you find the one that you like and then slowly make the switch, because as Kermit the Frog would say, it's not easy being green. And so you have to just take it slow and not be hard on yourself, because you're not, just because you clean up your personal care in 2 seconds doesn't mean that, you know, it's going to change. There's still a lot of clinical studies out there like, all right, you know, yes, this could potentially cause harm, but we don't know. So what I say is look at like your toothpaste, look at like the easy things, your shampoos, your conditioners, and then move into skincare. And with skincare, don't make it complicated. Simple is easy. Simple is the best. You know, a good cleanser, a toner, or we make a primer. You know, use something like that. A serum and a moisturizer. That's it. You don't have to have a ton more stuff. I mean, if you want to, you can always add on, but make it simple. And then after your skincare, start looking at your makeup, because your makeup is probably the hardest part, where you need to find colors and saturation of colors and your tints and everything. That's probably the hardest part. But again, detoxing, just take it one step at a time. Don't try to overwhelm yourself.
I think what you said is so interesting, because since I've been doing these interviews for the series, I've kind of come to realize something like really scary about myself. Because, you know, when I got into beauty, I was really committed to like minimalist, right? It's like, I don't need more stuff. I think the combination of going into beauty and becoming a mom was less is more. Like, give me a good cleanser, and give me a good serum. And honestly, other than my serum, I don't even necessarily put on a moisturizer. It's like sunblock or like a tinted moisturizer, if anything, and that's it. Um, However, what I started to realize is that with makeup, I never have even thought about ingredients, because I'm talking to you. I gotta look good. So I'm like,
I know, we're honest. We're not going down without a fight.
yeah, exactly. But like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what's in my like mascara or like eyeliner or even like lip gloss, lip paint, tint, whatever they're calling it these days. And that's in my mouth. And I'm like probably eating it throughout the day. So
It's true. You're totally right. Lip products, 90% of the products you put on your lips, you're going to eat.
yeah, and it's not food. So I like the way you frame that. And I think the only thing I would want to add to that is, as someone who used to like slather myself with lotion all the time, and I no longer do, I'll put on like a little bit of our serum like when I need it, but like I generally don't. That's a lot of skin and a lot of surface area that you're covering with God knows what. So if there's anything that you guys are going to pay really, really close attention to, think about volume, like how much you use, how much of your skin you're covering with it. Because I think like, if it's something that you're like putting on your chin versus something you're slathering over your body, and you only have time to check ingredients of one product, go with the one that covers the most surface area. And color cosmetics, it does become complicated, like you said. But I love your, like, just simplify. Now, what about eye cream? Because you didn't talk about eye cream in there. And I feel like, for some of us, it's essential.
So we made, we didn't want to come out with an eye serum. We call it an elixir, unless it actually was going to have products that were going to really, really make a difference. Because a lot of the serums that we use on our face, if you really look and you compare, they're kind of the same ingredients for the eye serum. So you want to make sure that you're using specific ingredients that are actually going to help with puffiness, dark circles, fine lines, because the eye area has the most delicate skin. And so you want to use ingredients that are going to be powerful but gentle, and that they're going to actually make a difference. And so if you don't want to buy another eye cream, just use the serum around your eyes. Just be careful, but I would just recommend that unless you found an eye product that you love. I do think that moisturizing, unless you have a tendency to be on the more oily side, moisturizing is probably the one step you don't want to skip.
Now, when we talk about moisturizing, we're not necessarily talking about like your moisturizing lotion, because you can get quite a lot of moisturizing from your serum, no?
No, serums usually aren't really technically moisturizing. Serums really should be about repair and adding nourishment to your skin. They are, because like we make a primer that has hyaluronic, because that's going to bring the water into your skin cells. And then the serum is going to bring the nutrients, all the essential nutrients that your skin cell is like craving to make it stronger and more healthier. And then the moisture is something that you put on top that's going to create a moisture barrier to, seal in all that goodness you've just added in, but then also help protect against the elements, pollution, blah, 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 and things like that.
That's awesome.
What I would also, if you had to just choose one product and you have sensitive skin, or you just like, I only want to go with one, I would go with an oil, because make sure you're compatible with the oils, but because oils, they don't create an environment where bacteria or viruses can live in. So you don't even ever see preservatives inside facial or body oils. It's just the oils. And so for your body, it's you're not adding any synthetic chemicals unless you're adding certain types of oils. But that's one way to keep it simple and to just hydrate your skin well, or moisturize your skin well.
I love that you said that, that connection between oils and moisture, because I don't think that registers for everybody necessarily. But I've been starting to use some oils, and I love the feel of it, especially like overnight, so much more than like something jelly, or like you're gonna worried about getting it on your pillow. I've just really been loving the feel of the oils. Do you guys have an oil that you
Yeah, we make a couple oils, but what we do is we like to use an oil that has a small molecular structure so that it actually can fit through the pore and then get down to those lower layers. And what we really like is natural. So we use squalene sourced from sugarcane, and we use a real natural vitamin E. A lot of vitamin E's that you can get out in the marketplace, they have the word acetate after it, and that means it's a synthetic vitamin E. And so just be careful. It's like you want the natural.
That's
Don't
awesome.
go feral.
That's a great tip, and thank you for sharing with us. Do you have any last words of advice for our audience? Anything else you want to share?
I think just if you really want to enter the clean beauty and make a difference in your own personal care, and look under the hood of your products, is definitely download the EWG app. Also check into Think Dirty app. Both of those two have an unbiased viewpoint. And then also look at different types of natural beauty awards. Eco Excellent, the Cert Clean. There's we've been aligned with them, and they have amazing products that have won, all these beauty awards. So check into those as well.
That's great. And we'll include links for those, the EWG and Think Dirty as well as C2 Clean's website. And you're selling directly on your website, or how else could people get a hold of your product?
We sell definitely on our website. We sell on Macy's.com. We're in Amazon. We're on Safe and Chic. And we're in a bunch of different spots that are kind of local in the Bay Area. But otherwise, the best place is really our website, because you get the best customer service, and you get samples of new products and things.
Awesome. Oh my gosh, Clarissa, it's been so lovely chatting with you. Thank you so much for being a part of this and sharing your expertise with us. We'll be sure to have all the links in there for you guys. And where else could people find you? On social?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn. C2 Clean Beauty is our handle, but they can always reach us at hello@c2cleanbeauty.com. We're always happy to have some questions.
Thank you so much. Okay, thanks for tuning in, guys. Take care. Bye, Clarissa.
Bye.